Hello, everyone. Welcome to yoga. Many of you will know we had a little bit of a break throughout March and April. I was moving, had some injuries, everything's healing up well. I'm very grateful to be in this nice new space for yoga. Had to build a bit of a platform to deal with the carpet as well. If you have any questions, if you have carpet in your space and you're wondering how you can make a stable board, I am not handy. I'm not a DIY person at all, and I figured it out. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that. If we haven't met or practiced together before, I'm Mel. I'm an emergency doctor at CHIO, and I've been a registered yoga teacher since March 2020. It's truly been a life raft during this pandemic, and I hope it brings you some measure of peace and comfort and also energy as well. For today's practice, I'm really excited. We're going to be focused on mobilizing the hip, stabilizing and strengthening the core, and working on balance. I've said it before, but I just love how balance draws in all of your attention, regardless of what else you have going on in your day. All that wobbling and that trying not to fall and maybe falling really forces you to be in the moment. We won't need too much for today's practice. We will spend a bit of time on the knees. So I've got these little knee pads here. You're welcome to grab a towel or blanket, or even just fold over your mat if you find your knees are sensitive or touchy at any point. Having water is always handy, and a blanket or sweater that you can wear while we're warming up is wonderful. Take a minute to gather these things if you need them, keeping in mind that at the end of the day, all you need is your body. All right, so let's take a minute to arrive at your mat. It's helpful if you have the long edge of your mat facing this screen. Not mandatory though, I will cue sides and we'll be careful with cueing, so don't worry if your space is a bit different. Once you arrive seated in your mat, simply allow the eyes to close if it feels okay to do so, and turn the attention to the breath. Passively welcome the inhale and exhale on their own time, trying not to do anything to actively change it. Notice the places of contact your body has with the mat, and draw a sense of strength and stability from where you're rooted to the mat. You can imagine tension melting off your body, just like sweat rolling off your body in a sunny day, or maybe a chocolate bunny melting in the heat. Imagine yourself becoming a little softer. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed if you would like, but allow your hands to find your front foot. And let's, starting at the toes, use our thumbs to provide some firm pressure and a nice foot massage. Pace your movements to the timing of your breath, whatever that means to you. Keeping your eyes closed can allow you to really focus on these lovely sensations. Work your way down the foot. Be pausing to just simply use your hands to hold part of the feet and allow that transfer of warmth. When you've worked your way through the foot, let's now allow your fingertips to just very gently touch the foot in different locations. You can watch what I'm doing, or you can just trust that whatever you're doing is right and good for you today. This isn't an exam. You can't really fail yoga. Maybe you want to do little light grazes. And you just tap the feet ever so slightly with the fingertips to wake up a bit of proprioception Get sensitivity in the feet. Might help us a bit with our balance postures. From here, again, you're welcome to keep your eyes closed. Draw your palms beside your bum or fingertips, an option to keep them raised off the mat, or allow the palms to rest beside the bum for stability as you lean your weight back on your bum and switch your feet so the other foot's in front. And we're going to do the exact same thing we just did. So let's find our foot with the thumbs in this lovely deep kneading tissue massage, making sure it's firm but always gentle. We're not trying to rearrange the foot here. We're just trying to show it some love for all the work that our feet do to support us during the day. Reconnect with the breath. If you find yourself craving any particular actions, feel free to follow through with that intuition. Now, we dance our fingertips over top of our feet. It's really light touching. Almost as if you touch your foot and you realize it's super hot like an oven and you're pulling your hand back. You want to tap a little bit like you're running your fingers up and down piano keys. You can imagine your fingers like raindrops falling on the bottom of the feet. Once you're ready, let's once again drag our palms or fingertips back beside the bum. And this time you can flutter your eyelids open and bring the knees together. Feet flat on the earth, knees bent. You can pause here, take a minute to get settled, and then windshield wiper the legs side to side, allowing them to fall, feeling that movement throughout the hip, that lovely massage happening throughout the glutes. Joining the action to the breath, moving slowly and with intention. Now you might notice as your knees fall over to the left side that you're getting a little lighter in that right arm. Send that right arm up and over in an arc and reach towards the back left corner of the mat. Press up through the left arm and send it back. Repeat these actions. And I invite you to maybe close your eyes to see if there's any organic movements you want to engage in. Maybe it's drawing your elbow back as you turn again towards the midline. Maybe you want to do almost a little bit of a spinal wave and dip your head towards the earth as you're reaching. I invite you to focus on that connection between your opposite hip and opposite shoulder. Almost like there's that line of X going across the body. Once we even out the sides and you feel ready, let's pause in the middle, using a few extra windshield wipers for good measure, and then appreciating the stillness. From here, let's cross our right leg over top of our left, take our left palm and fingertips and turn them away from us. And then reach up and over to the right to transition, hello, to a tabletop. Let's crawl our hands over to face the short edge of the mat, coming into a tabletop position, falling a little bit off the platform. At this point, feeling a little bit more warm, but feel free to keep on any sweaters or blankets you've curled yourself up in. We're going to meet with our palms underneath our shoulders and knees underneath the hips. Make sure not to lock out any of the joints. We're going to do some cat-cows. So starting from the pelvis, tilt it up, drop the belly, pull the heart between the arms. You inhale into cow, and then tuck the pelvis under, round the spine, press away from the mat as we exhale into cat. Repeat this a few times, moving with your own breath. Maybe closing your eyes. And once again, inviting any organic movement that feels good. Perhaps you want to barrel roll the spine a little bit. Maybe shift the weight back and forth. Totally up to you. Once you're feeling evened out, let's pause in the middle for neutral. Bring our belly button a little bit closer to our backbone so we feel just a bit of tone, nothing crazy in the belly. And notice how when we do that, it gives a little bit of extra stability. From here, we're going to extend out through our right leg, toes pointed down towards the mat, and then lengthen forward through the left arm. If this is a lot, totally possible to work with just the leg. Bring your knee in towards the elbow. If they touch, you can add a little bit of resistance. No worries if they don't. Repeat this action, exhaling as you round the spine, bring knee to elbow, inhaling as you lengthen. Slowly and deliberately, once again, really paying attention to the connection between the left shoulder and the right hip. The next time you're lengthened out, let's pause there and watch closely. Bring just the left palm below the shoulder while leaving the leg out. Make sure our belly is not dripping down below. Bring a little bit of tone so that we maintain that neutral spine. And from here, bend the right knee and now draw big, slow circles with the right knee, moving at your own time with your own pace. Trying to make the circles as smooth as possible. The whole point of this is to feel some freedom and fluidity in that right hip. You can reverse direction if you haven't already. No stress if your circle is smaller than mine or bigger than mine. I want you to be guided entirely by the sensations within your hip. Notice what else is happening in the body. Notice how the core is activating to stabilize us during this maneuver. Maybe we've got our left glute activating as well to keep us stable. Once you complete your next circle, let's bring the knees underneath the hips. Maybe separate out the knees a little bit, toes together, and send the hips back into a devotional pose, Bhaktasana. Allow the forehead to reach towards the mat. Maybe take a second to roll up the wrists. Alleviate any pressure buildup there. All right, catch a wave for your next inhale. Press through the legs to send the body forward, returning into a tabletop position. Exact same thing, next side. So this time, let's send out the left leg, toes pointed towards the mat. Inhale the right arm forward. Totally fine to just work with the leg if you'd like. On your next exhale, bring the knee towards the elbow or have them contact. And then inhale to lengthen. Repeat these actions. This time feeling that diagonal line of connection from your right shoulder to your left hip. Next time you're lengthened, let's pause there and bring just the right palm underneath the shoulders if the palms were lifted. From here, bend the left knee, and now let's draw some circles with that left hip. Maybe feeling a little bit like a dog near a fire hydrant, that's okay. Do your best to keep your hips stable, to keep equal weight between both your palms. Trying to make the movement slow and fluid and noticing if there's any spots you might be rushing between. Reverse the direction if you haven't already. If there's any spot that feels particularly good or sticky, you can hang out there and rock back and forth a little bit. Find what your body is craving today. All right. Let's allow the knee to rest beneath the hip. And once again, Knees apart, toes together, reach forward and allow the chest and head to go towards the mat in a Bakasana devotional pose. Allow the belly and core to soften. Feel that subtle lengthening happening within the shoulders. Great chance to grab a sip of water if you would like. And when you're ready, press through the legs, returning to a neutral tabletop. We're going to work through a round of cat-cow to reset. Drop the belly. Inhale the spine forward. And then exhale, and let's all meet in cat position for a second with our backs rounded like a Halloween cat. And let's slowly start to walk the palms or fingertips towards the knee as we tuck underneath the pelvis and rise up into a kneeling position. Now, this is a great opportunity to fold over your mat or get any extra protection for your knees that you're craving. Here we go. Well, changes the balance a bit, but it is extra cushy. All right, so from here, I'm going to shift the weight to my right leg, send the left leg forward in a short step. You don't want to lunge too deeply. You'll see why shortly. Once we step forward, let's allow the arms to reach up and overhead, reaching back ever so slightly. And all we're going to do in this low Anjaneyasana is take 2 breaths in and out, noticing how the breathing opens up that right hip a little bit more. Our psoas or hip flexor is intimately connected to the diaphragm. So being able to breathe in this position really enhances that sensation of stretch or opening. From here, let's turn towards our left leg, spreading our arms out like we're treading water, reaching out to either direction, maybe looking back over towards our left fingertips, and really recommitting to that bend in the front knee. Take a few breaths here. Once again, noticing how the sensation of breath changes what we're feeling in our core, maybe even in our shoulders. And now listen for the change. We're going to lengthen out through that front leg, tip forward and allow the right palm to make contact with the mat. So we come into a bit of a twist in this position. Enjoy a breath or two here. Noticing how it enhances the opening throughout that hamstring. And now let's windmill that top arm down, pausing in a half splits position. Ardha Hanuman, breathing deep, making sure not to lock throughout that front leg. You'll notice that you actually get a much better stretch if you do maintain a little bit of pliability or bounciness there. Shine our heart forward. And let's repeat that sequence on your own time. So bend through that front knee, allow the arms to travel up overhead, pause in our Anjaneyasana and return to the breath. Twist towards your front leg. Lengthen through the front leg, welcoming any grapples, making contact with the mat. And then windmilling that top arm down to frame the front leg. Great. From here, we're going to bend throughout that front leg, allow the palms to make contact with the mat, and step it back into your neutral tabletop, noticing if one hip feels different from the next. Engage in a round of cat-cow to reset. The next time you're in cat, pause there, walk the palms back towards the knees, tuck under the pelvis, stack the spine, and arrive in your kneeling position. Feel free to readjust if you'd like to make your knees extra comfy. Shift the weight to your left leg this time and send it forward. Take a minute to readjust. Make sure you've got a little bit of mobility wherever you're at. Overstretching muscles really just causes them to kind of cramp up and seize up. It really isn't conducive to long-term flexibility. So this is really a situation where less is more. Let's scoop up the air. Inhale up and over, maybe engaging in a bit of a back bend, really feeling that opening throughout the left hip, but not going so far back or overdoing it such that you can't really breathe. Once you found your middle ground, engage in a breath or two here. Twist towards the right, really lengthening out through the arms. And then lengthen through that front leg. Feel free to walk it a few inches forward if you need to. Twisting towards the right. Now windmill that top arm down to frame the front foot, shine the heart forward and feel that lengthening happening in the back of your right hamstring. Bend through the front knee and repeat the sequence on your own time, making sure to really savor it, take your time, do a few breaths in each position. Breathing in our Anjaneyasana. Breathing into our twist. Straightening through that front leg and coming on to our fingertips or palms. If you'd like a block or a book or something to bring the earth closer to you, that's perfectly great. Now let's windmill that top arm down, up and over to frame the front foot. And through the front leg, plant the palms and step it back into our tabletop position. Cat-cow to reset. In this time, feel free to move any props you have to support the knees, tuck under the toes and send the hips up and back into our first downward facing dog. We're going to take things up a notch, pedal it out, bending one knee while you lengthen through the back of the other to really feel that opening, that freedom happening in the hamstrings. Scoop your back just like you're in a cow pose, not arching it like in a cat, and notice how that really encourages the hamstrings to open up even more. Lovely. From here, we're going to shift the weight towards our left foot and send our right knee into the air, doing a few circles to really experience some freedom within that right hip. If this is too much, no problemo. Come on down and do exactly what we did before from the tabletop position. Pick your favorite, pick what your body's craving today, and meet it without judgment. At the end of the day, who cares? As long as what you're doing is feeling good, you're going to experience that growth. Perfect. Let's now shift our weight forward, bring your right knee towards our left elbow, pausing here, tick-tocking our knee towards the opposite elbow, maybe continuing between the two, moving with your breath. And when you're ready, let's step that right foot in between the palms, get light on the fingertips, squeeze the legs together a little bit for some stability, and rise on up into your high Anjaneyasana crescent lunge. Make sure that you're bending through the back knee so our pelvis is tucked beneath us, not all the way out here. You'll notice a much nicer opening throughout those left hip flexors. Now from here, we're going to shift our weight forward ever so slightly. Maybe walk your back foot a little closer to the front. Get light in the back foot as we step on up to mountain pose at the top of our mat. We're going to simply experiment with that a few times, stepping back into Anjaneyasana, stepping up forward into mountain. If this is a bit of a challenge, feel free to shorten your stance ever so slightly. Really feel that right side of the body catching you, so that the left side, the one that's moving, feels almost weightless. Pause in your Tadasana for a moment. Allow the heartbeat to settle. Feel free to take a sip of water if you have it handy. And now, when you're ready, shift your weight a little bit so that you're feeling, I'll actually turn so you can see me better. so that you're feeling your feet tilting to one side and the other. Imagine that your ankles are balancing. You want to find that spot right where you're not feeling too much pressure on the outside of the feet, but not too much on the inside of the feet. Find that neutral position where your legs and ankles feel balanced, facing the short edge of the mat. Shift your weight to your right foot and raise your left knee into the air. Let's repeat this a few times, moving slowly and feeling the right side of the body catch the left. Great. Well, that feels pretty good. Allow your arms to rise into the air, either all the way up or into a T position, or if you're craving extra stability, by the hips. And the next time the knee is up into the air, let's twist towards a bent leg. Repeat this a few times, bending the knee and twisting, moving slowly. If this is quite a challenge, you can keep your hands on your hips. If you're craving a little bit more, keep them up into the air. Maybe allow the arms to spread out like a T every time. Move with your breath, drawing from that connection from your right shoulders to your left hip. Next time your knee's in the air and you're twisted, pause there. Keep the knee lifted as you turn towards the front, welcoming any wobbles that you have. Option, only to try if you want, extend out through that front knee, pausing here, really feeling that left hip flexor activating. If you want, you can press down on your thigh and raise the leg even farther, then bend through the knee and step it back to an Anjaneyasana crescent lunge. Feel that opening in the hip flexors. I know hips are probably getting a little tired. Inhale, and on your exhale, turn all 10 toes towards the long edge of your mat. Reach out, bend into the knees, and fold forward. Pause here, maybe shifting the weight side to side, reconnecting with your breath and body. Let's walk our palms so that we're framing the back foot, should be about the left foot. Maybe extend that right foot back a little bit, shine the heart forward, and plant the palms and step it back into a plank pose. Option to come onto the knees or stay in your plank and bend your elbows and let's all meet on the mat. Untuck the toes, massage the forehead against the mat, draw the elbows towards the midline, press your toes into the mat, and use the strength of your back to float up into the Bhujangasana Cobra pose. On your next exhale, lower vertebrae by vertebrae, tuck under the toes, and either coming up through tabletop or straight to plank, we're going to meet in a downward dog. Pedal out the feet here. Opening up the hamstrings, knowing if one hip feels a little different, maybe a little more open than the other. All right, this time we're going to turn our weight or put our weight into our right foot, bend through our left knee and start to draw our circles in downward dog, knowing that we can come back to tabletop at any point in time. Make the circles smooth and slow. Exploring and approaching the movements in that left hip with curiosity. Noticing as you do this, how our shoulders and wrists are working to stabilize us. We have that extra work happening in the outer right hip and glute. Reverse the direction if you haven't already. And now let's shift our weight forward, bringing our right knee towards, our left knee towards our right elbow, tick-tocking it to the other side. Let's repeat that a few times, maybe shortening your stance if you'd like to make contact, but it's not mandatory. Once you've evened it out, step that left foot between the palms. Draw the legs together for stability, get light in the fingertips, and rise on up into your Anjaneyasana crescent lunge position. Pause here, just like we did when our knees were on the ground in low Anjaneyasana. Notice how the breath is connecting to the sensation within that right hip. Consider shortening your stance, getting light on the back foot, and stepping it up to Tadasana or mountain pose. Feel free to repeat that a few times. You can add in the arms if you wish. And then let's all meet in Tadasana. Allow the arms to fall down towards the sides. Give ourselves a chance to reconnect with our heart rate and our breath. I'm going to give myself a little bit more real estate in front of me. Take a sip of water if you wish. All right, from here, we're going to repeat that action, tilting our ankles in and out, reconnecting to find that perfect place of balance, where we feel like we have equal lines of tension on the inside and outsides of the ankles. Shift the weight to the left leg and start to bend through that right knee. Feeling the left side of your body catch you. Arms can be at your sides or hips, or maybe even up in the air. Notice if one side feels different than the other, perfectly natural. Once you feel fairly comfortable with that, let's bring our knee up and then twist towards the long edge of the mat. You can repeat this a few times. Again, if your balance is feeling more challenged, you can put your hands out to a T or to your hips. If this isn't enough to you, another variation you can do is to keep your knee up as you twist. It can be quite a balance challenge and can get a little tiring on that left leg. Wherever you're at, the next time you're twisted, let's pause here. Maybe extend out through that front leg, turn towards the front, option to even press on top to really activate your hip flexor even more. Then through the knee and step it back nice and slow into your high Anjaneyasana crescent lunge. Phew. Enjoy a breath or two here. And then you got it. Let's turn to face the long edge of the mat, bend through the knees and dive forward. Maybe bend through the knees, rocking the weight side to side. Allowing the arms to follow, much like we did at the beginning of the practice with our windshield wipers. All right, let's walk the palms to frame the front right foot this time. Get light in the fingertips and then plant the palms, step it back into plank pose or onto the knees. Pause here, shift the weight forward, and then through the elbows to make contact with the mat. Untuck the toes, draw the elbows in, and draw up into your Bhujangasana or Cobra pose. Allow your forehead to meet towards the mat. Tuck under the toes and either coming up through tabletop or plank. Let's meet back in downward facing dog. So we're going to repeat that sequence, and it's totally fine to do what we just did. That is awesome. Or we can add on a little bit more for a little bit more of a balance challenge and more hip work. So from here, let's shift our weight to our left foot. See if we can send our right heel into the air for a three-legged dog. Bend into the knee, send the weight forward, and allow the right knee to meet the left tricep. Turn it over, tick-tock. Just 2-3 rounds this time, and step the front leg between the arms. Get light on the feet, squeeze the legs together, rise up into your Anjaneyasana. Now, option to shorten the stance a little bit so that you really feel 90% of your weight in that front leg. And from here, we're going to rise all the way up to a bending position and twist, and step back into our Anjaneyasana. So repeat this a few times. You can bring your right elbow towards your left knee if you would like. And once you feel pretty steady and stable here, option to extend out your arms and your legs. If this is a lot, no worries. Totally okay to do exactly what we did before, standing position, Tadasana, rather than from our lunge. Wherever you're at, the next time you're twisted, pause here, look back towards your left fingertips. And now let's all turn towards the front, knee bent. If you can, take a minute to join us. And we're going to transition through warrior three. So tilting forward, extending out through that left heel, just like we did from tabletop. Pausing here, welcoming that wobble, that strengthening. And now bend through the front knee to gently land the back toes, rising up into Anjaneyasana. Without further ado, let's turn towards the middle, fold forward in our wide-legged forward fold. Walk the palms to frame the left foot, get light on the fingertips, and we're going to rise on up into our Anjaneyasana. Take a minute to get repositioned on your mat. Maybe make your stance a little bit shorter if you would like. We're going to do the same thing. So make sure you've got 90% of your weight in that front bent leg. Raise the knees up and twist, alternating between your Anjaneyasana and your twist, knowing that at any point you can return to the standing position. You can move at your own pace, just making sure if you are going a little faster, we're not losing that connection with our breath and body. Otherwise, we're really not getting our maximum benefits that we can from yoga. Option to extend out the arms and legs with your twist if you would like. Welcoming any wobbles. If you don't wobble at all, you're not having necessarily that appropriate balance of challenge and ease that we're always trying to find in yoga. So if this is something you're doing while sleeping, maybe consider spending a little bit more time on one leg, maybe even looking up more to challenge your balance. Next time you're twisted, let's pause here. Raise the leg a little higher if it's out. And then now let's all turn to face the short edge of the mat. Take a minute, a break if you need to. Bend the knee. And now let's meet through Virabhadrasana through your warrior three. So extend out through that back leg, pausing on that front left leg. Welcoming that wobble, that strengthening. Then bend through your left knee. Place the back foot down into your Anjaneyasana. Turn to the long edge of the mat, bend through the knees, fold forward. Awesome. Bend through the knees to shift the weight side to side or pause in the middle for stillness. It's truly up to you. Allow the head to hang. From here, we're going to simply walk our palms out a little bit, bringing our feet closer together, and then bend through the knees. Coming through a tabletop position, perpendicular to the mat, and then walking our palms up to our legs to rest in a kneeling position. Feel free to give your knees any sort of comfort or extra mat folding. If this is not the position for you, you can rise up to kneel, or you can simply transition to a cross-legged position. Wherever you're at, let's now sit back with our bums, allow our legs to go out in front of us, and windshield wiper side to side, just like we did at the beginning of the practice. Notice if there's any extra freedom or fluidity in the hips. You can allow your arms to follow, just like we did before. And from here, let's extend out one leg, then the other in a seated position. Maybe shake the legs a little bit. Just kind of waking up the hamstrings and releasing any tension. If this is a lot, bend the knees generously. You can also use a blanket or towel to raise your hips up a little higher. Wherever you're at, let's inhale the arms up into the air, pull the heart forward and fold forward over the legs. Your palms can rest anywhere, near the feet, near the knees, near the thighs. Does not really matter. If it truly distresses you to be off the mat, feel free to turn 90 degrees. We'll get there eventually, I promise. In your fold, you can simply pause for stillness or snake your spine side to side like I'm doing. Here's a combination of both. Starting through the legs and use that momentum to send yourself upright once again. From here, drag your heels back onto the mat and let's walk our bums and our feet to face the short edge of the mat. Reach your arms forward, feet planted on the mat, and ever so slowly, we're going to round the spine as we bring our back towards the mat for some final cooling postures and eventually Shavasana. So if you do want to grab a sweater or blanket before you go all the way down, that's great. Once your back is on the mat, option to gently windshield wiper those legs side to side. Place your arms up into a T beside you, or if your space doesn't allow, bend them so that you're a bit of a cactus or football goalpost, if you will. I think those different metaphors will resonate with different people. The next time your legs are over towards the left, allow your head to fall in the opposite direction towards the right, away from your knees. Pause here in your twist. If you're looking for a bit more of an intense twist, you can bring your knees closer to your chest. Or if you're looking for something more soothing, consider bringing them a little further away from your chest. You can experiment with extending through the top of out your top leg and grabbing the toes. Getting a little bit too chill. And pausing here, you can breathe deep, feeling that opening the lateral side of the hips through the IT band. Reconnecting, as always, with this practice with a diagonal band of muscle from the right hip to left shoulder. You can release the top leg if it was extended. Rock and roll the hips, the knees over towards the other side. Allow your head to fall away from the knees. Pausing here for stillness and choosing whichever position the knees feels good to you. I do encourage you to experiment with bringing them closer and farther away. An option to extend that top leg. It doesn't need to be the same as the other side. We recognize bodies might feel a bit different. Returning to the breath. Imagining it washing over any areas of tension. If that top leg is extended, bend through the knee. Return the knees to neutral, the feet bent, feet on the mat, knees bent. Press through the feet a little bit so you can really flatten your low back against the mat. Option to do a few more minor windshield wipers, something all the way down, just getting a release in the low back. When you're ready, extend out one leg and the other. Feel free to grab any props that you like to have for your final Shavasana resting pose. Turn your attention to the breath, and I invite you to do absolutely nothing. I will cue you out when it is time. Invite some awareness back into your body. Consider minor movements of the fingers and toes. If you want to try and move one toe at a time. Roll your wrists and ankles. Welcome any snaps and crackles and pops you might hear. Option to stay in your Shavasana for as long as you'd like. Or if you've got places to be, inhale the arms up overhead, enjoy your stretch. And exhale to relax. Let's drag our left heel back towards the bum. Press into the left foot to send ourselves, right heel, whatever, onto your side. Press the palm in front of your face and rise on up into your seated position. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed this practice. Your feedback, tips, requests are always welcome. Have a lovely day.